to have packaging that jumped off the shelf. That if you walked up to the sunscreen area, there was packaging that just literally screamed like a blinking green and yellow neon sign saying, come, at least look at me, say hello to me. You may or may not buy me, but at least you're going to look at me, you know? And that's what we created. And that was, how do I want to describe that? That was literally like that threw a monkey wrench into the whole industry, because I had a lot of people telling me that we can't put your product on our shelf because it stands out too much or it doesn't look right, or that, or the best one I used to get is that's not how things are done.
Oh,
And
I
then
hate
I used
that
to
line.
say
I
to
hate
them,
that
like,
line. It's like, welcome to 2023, right? It's like, come on.
it's like, if I, it's not in my wiring to follow the status quo. So I was like, this is not how things are done today. But once you put my sunscreen on your shelf, this is the new paradigm, whatever, for the future. So, like I said, it was hit or miss in the early days. Like a lot of people said no, a lot of people said yes, but the ones that said yes, you know, it did very, very well.
Back it up a minute though. Before you even got to that point to be able to even market it, you had to build the product. So like, how did you get down that lane? Like, who did you reach out to for tips? And how did you get those people on phone calls or Zoom meetings or in-person meetings?
Well, it's really all about, so if you want to, you know, create something like that, you just have to literally start Googling to see where it can get done, how you can do it. Yeah. And all your information is on the internet. You know, finding the information on how to do something, that's the easy part. Anybody can do that. The challenge is navigating the minefield for each component of putting something together, because everything has to be right for it to work. You have to have a perfect storm in order, or rather you have to have the perfect conditions come together to have a perfect storm. And if you can't create those conditions, you're not going to have anything. So the packaging has to be right. The product has to be right. You know, you can sell a product based on great packaging and have crappy product, but no one's going to come back and buy any more. You can have an amazing product that has crappy packaging, and that product will never get a chance because of the crappy packaging. No one will ever buy it. So you literally, and here's the other component too, price point. Your price point has to be in alignment with somebody's mental and mindset perception of the packaging they see, the product they use, and the price they pay. So if it's a mediocre product with amazing packaging, but yet it has a luxurious price point,
of course,
it's not going to get a repeat buy. However, if it's like, let's just say, you know, you have and this actually happens a lot in the luxury market, but if you have a great product, okay, and you have a great packaging, then you can command the higher price point if you so choose or you so desire. But again, it all comes down to business at the end of the day. You got to know your distribution channels. You got to know who's selling what, how much they're selling, make your price based on the margin you need to make, based on the volume. It's a complex formula. So like I said, the how-to is the easy part. There's enough YouTube videos and enough information on the internet to do anything you want to do. Being able to put the conditions together and to time them correctly, that's the skill right there. And then just making sure everything's in alignment, you know, because like I said, all it takes is one thing to be off, and your product's going to be dead in the water.
So what I'm doing while I'm playing around with this phone is, for everyone listening on LinkedIn Live right now or any of the live channels, I'm just put Jeff available. He is listed under the featured Owwlls. So go ahead and give him a call. Right now, you could call Jeff, and let's see who calls into the show. This is the first time we're doing this, because in the past, we've done a lot of outbound calls. It's more controllable. Of course, we could go into the app, search for someone that is available to chat with one-on-one, and then call them. But we want to switch it up a little bit. We want to see, hey, while we're live, we got one. Hey, Aurea McGarry, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm watching your amazing show and watching Geoffrey, and I thought I'd support. And I love what he's talking about.
Perfect. Well, do you have a question for Geoffrey today?
I do. Geoffrey, I'm loving what you're talking about. I'm loving this mindset because so many times I find that is the downfall. You've got one part of your business going great, but then other things are falling apart because you're not managing it right. So, for the new entrepreneur, somebody who's trying to get started, which is a lot of the people I work with, what is your best advice to help them have the best mindset to balance all these things you're talking about, getting those right pricing and situating yourself correctly? Because you're so right. You can Google how to anything. So, how do they differentiate themselves and get off to a great start?
Well, I'm going to say the most important part, hands down, and it doesn't matter what business you're getting into, but any new venture is first and foremost, you have to be aligned with yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to know what you're about. And you have to have because you're going to get thrown curveballs along the journey. And people that get knocked out by curveballs, it's generally from a lack of just real self-understanding, knowing their boundaries, knowing who they are and what they're all about. So I'm going to say that that's the first and most important aspect is knowledge of oneself and being connected. And then number two is being real, know your resources, know what you're working with. Like I see businesses all the time that get started and they have amazing ideas. There's amazing energy, but guess what? They run out of money. Or guess what? The owner only wanted to put in like 3-4 hours a day into work. And then they wonder why the business doesn't happen. The reality is there's a lot of talk. You can go on Instagram or, whatever, Facebook, and people talk about, yeah, I just want to work a few hours a day, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I've never experienced that. All the businesses I've started that have been successful in the early days, at least, I put in like 16, 17, 18-hour days because it's just like the trial and error never ends until it ends. And you don't know when it's going to end. And if you're committed to the outcome, meaning like what you've signed up for, and you are determined to make that happen, you are going to keep going trial and error until you finally figure it out. And once you figure it out, then it's obviously worth it. But the other thing too that people don't realize is once you do figure it out, guess what? You have new problems. Now you got to figure out the new problems. Yeah, it doesn't end. It's kind of like this.
It doesn't.
Growing pains. I mean, we see it on the Owwll app right now as we keep growing.
Addressing it too.
Well, quick example is like, say, for example, you're driving a Toyota Corolla. Okay. That's a nice, reliable car. It gets great gas mileage, low overall annual maintenance cost. Okay. You're loving that car. A to B, perfect, beautiful. Well, now you're making some money. You're doing well. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to upgrade. And you keep going along the lines. One day you find yourself with a Lamborghini. Okay. Lamborghini, cost of ownership, high maintenance, super high. You better have a lot of cash to support that lifestyle with that Lamborghini. And that's the thing I think people often will lose sight of. And this is where I talk about being grounded and staying real with yourself and knowing, what do you have to work with? How long do you have to work with it? And knowing what you're going to do with it. And once you get what you want, how are you going to then parlay that to the next level? Because I always tell people when I grew my businesses, I've grown every single one out of cash. I've never taken a loan or a nickel from anybody. So it was kind of like, imagine going into a casino and you start at a $5 a hand table. You win a bunch of, you like win the pot. Then you go up to the $10, $20. And every time you move to a table, it's friggin' scary because you're betting the farm at every new table you go. But the silver lining to that, and if, guys like Grant Cardone are listening, they're not going to like what I'm saying, but that's fine. The silver, because he's all about leverage, other people's money, is the silver lining to that is when you go to exit, guess what? It's all yours. You don't have to pay anyone. You keep it all. And if you have enough confidence in yourself and belief and self-control, then play that game. If you don't have self-control and somebody's out there and they like to make excuses and they like to complain and blame the environment, blame other people, then borrow the bank's money. The bank's used to dealing with that stuff all the time. But if you're truly a confident person who's focused and is willing to do what it takes and be more resourceful instead of asking for resources, then by all means, invest your money, put in your time, energy, and effort, and make the win. That's what I got to say about that.
Geoffrey, I love that. And I love, Jason, we're allowed to talk to people like Geoffrey here on the Owwll app. It's so phenomenal. We can pick up the phone and have these conversations and get insights from so many amazing people and experts. And I love what you said, Geoffrey, about that 4-hour work week is not real. I know there's a book on that, but I've never drank that Kool-Aid that you can have a 4-hour work week. And I also love that you said that it's a constant learning process. Because when I talk to some of the millionaires and billionaires, when I talk to them on my show, one thing they'll agree on is if you can have 52 good days out of the year, you can be a millionaire and multimillionaire, because the rest of the days you are solving problems, putting out fires, dealing with the stuff that needs to be done. It's not a cakewalk. It's not you're going to get into business and everything's going to go right. So I just love what you're talking about, Geoffrey. Thank you.
100%. And I'll just finish it with this. All you need is one big win. That's it. You just need one big hit.
Ooh, it's good.
It's like investing in stocks. I learned this one in my early 20s. You buy 20 different types of stocks. 19 can be losers, but if one skyrockets, that makes up for the 19 losers. So you just keep going.
I love that. That's great. Gives everybody hope. Well, Geoffrey, I'm going to call you again. I'm going to let more people call in and talk to you now. I don't want to hog the phone, but the Owwll app is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to talk to some more people over there in the Owwll app, because I'm live and I'm loving this show, Jason.
Awesome.
Thank you, Geoffrey, for being a phenomenal guest.
And that is
Thank you.
Araya McGarry. So go ahead and look her up in the Owwll app. She is a TV show host, Emmy winner. Yes, Emmy winner. Not many people can say that. She has her own podcast. So Jeff, you guys better connect on Owwll, because you got to be her next guest, of course. Thank you for joining us today on the Owwll podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I love it. Yes, Geoffrey, we'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Have a great rest of the show. I'm watching. Okay.
Okay. First of all, tell everyone your experience just there while I try to get someone else to call you. How was that? It was pretty cool, right?
That was cool. Yeah. The app is amazing. It's a good app.
So, the technology right there is incredible, because you could literally go live at a moment's notice while you're sitting at the beach, while you're at the pool. People are following you as you're completely, marketing your own services. And look at that. We get another call, right? And all of a sudden, it's like you turn things into opportunities on your downtime, right? And it's not always work when you're just chatting and collaborating. This is my co-host, Danielle Santilli. I know she's not around right now. She's in Nashville, Tennessee. I guess she misses being in the studio. So Danielle, do you have a question for Geoffrey?
You know what? I've been working. I didn't even get to see what Geoffrey does.
He was the original founder of Florida Salt Scrubs. Now he's a business coach.
Ooh.
And I'm sure you could ask him a lot of questions about building that brand and then exiting, of course. And you're a Florida native, so you know a lot about, Florida Salt Scrubs. You're seeing them at the airport, seeing them at public supermarkets, of course, all different scrubs, soaps, and of course, sunscreen.
And now, well, I guess I want to know how you're a business consultant. There are so many coaches out there now. It's so
Great
huge.
Question.
So like, how do you become a successful business coach amongst all the other business coaches these days? How do you stand out?
That's actually an amazing question. So yeah, there's a few ways to do that. Like, where should I start? Gosh, it's like, for me, a lot of it leans to my experience. Like, one of the big distinctions in my world compared to, say, a lot of the other business coaches' worlds is I've actually done it, and not just once. I've done it 3 times. Started, built, and sold 3 companies. So you tie that in with real coach training and NLP training, and then you actually get a coach who can work with you based on change models, but also lend real life, real world experience, because this coach has been there, done that, has the t-shirt, knows the sleepless nights, knows what it means to knock on 20 doors a day for years straight, not take a paycheck for a few years, knows what it's like to get into the office to find out his number 2 is being propositioned by the competition. Meanwhile, there was a car accident that day with one of your vehicles, and oh my God. So battle tested, put it that way. And that's what I notice in my space. That's rare and hard to find, are battle tested coaches. There's a lot of coaches that took a coaching course and got a certificate. That's great. But to actually be battle tested and to actually been out there and done the thing, it's like the distinction, like you go to college. Like, it always used to surprise me when somebody graduates university and says, I have a degree in entrepreneurship.
Right.
I didn't
but do you have entrepreneur experience? Right.
That's what's
you
different.
Can read about it in the books, but to be honest, I always say, like, I don't remember anything I learned in college.
No.
Barely anything. So, I feel like we get the degree to get the job.
Correct.
So
And that's the
my
other side.
other,
Oh, here. Well, let me just finish answering that real quick. It's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
the other side of that coin too. And since we're talking a difference between books and experience, is with
Yeah.
experience gives you something you cannot get out of a book. And it's called
Right.
confidence, because
Mhm.
you only get confidence from doing the thing, experiencing the good and the bad, and then being able to balance that internally to not being afraid of it. So anytime somebody has hesitation in any area of their business or life, it's generally due to a lack of experience. And the only way you're going to get that experience is to face it. Think of public speaking. How many people are scared to get on the stage and talk in front of people? Well, and people will pay thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to try to get that fear alleviated, when at the end of the day, the best way to get over that is to actually just do it. And yeah, you're probably going to crash and burn the first many times, which is okay, because as long as you have the courage to keep standing up and doing it again and again and again, guess what? Eventually your unconscious mind is going to trigger, and you will say, all right, I'm going to do this. So it's figured out, and now you can speak publicly.
You can also call me on Owwll, guys, for meditation tips, stress relief, for public speaking. I'm a performer, performance anxiety. We have myself and many other, stress reduction meditation coaches on the Owwll app. So, experience, but also coaching, reading tips. I think they go hand in hand. But my other question is, on the other side of things, the flip side, how do you choose which clients you're going to work with? Because I imagine you want to make sure that there's going to be, I guess that, what am I trying to say? You want to make sure that when you're picking someone to work with, they're going to be kind of a success story for you as well. And they're going to be motivated, and their business is something that you see potential in.
Correct. So the vast majority of my clients are already successful entrepreneurs. Like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You would never want to hire me. I'd be too much of a pain in his ass. He'd be like, Jason, I'm done. I quit. You're uncoachable.
I
There's
got
too many sticky notes, Jason.
He's
Too
like,
many.
first off, he's like, take all your sticky notes, put them in the trash.
Yeah.
I get you,
Yeah.
Jason. I get you, buddy. We'll figure something out. Don't worry. This is just the start. So with my clients, they're already successful, and most of the stuff I'm working with is like this. It's really helping them not be a slave to their business, because the problem with most successful entrepreneurs is this is the problem. In the early days when you're starting your business, you have to put in the long hours. You just do. You have to be willing to grind 24/7 to make it happen. And what goes on that nobody tells you about, and when you're doing that, is, well, it's the way habits are formed. People subconsciously program themselves to be slaves. So fast forward 5 years, 6 years into the game, maybe you're successful, you're making some money, you're doing well, but yet you're mentally or physically chained to your business. And you don't understand why. You say to yourself, why am I, why can't I let this business go? Why can't I just enjoy myself, go on vacation? You can't, because you've created a habit. And the more you try to fight a habit, the more the habit pulls you back into its grasp. And that's where a coach like me comes in, who's gone through it and come out the other side and knows how to help people successful entrepreneurs find more happiness and more freedom in their lives, and be able to detach from their business. Because again, a lot of entrepreneurs, they've created something out of nothing. They started this. This is their baby. So to let go is very difficult. So there's a lot of challenges and a lot of work that needs to be done on helping them create systems and create procedures and ways that they can, let go and delegate and put tasks and other jobs in other people's hands, and develop their own levels of self-trust too. Because it's tough to trust other people to do something unless you fully trust yourself. Always remember, people will always show you their cards. The way they treat themselves is the way they treat other people, and vice versa. So highly confident, in control, grounded people typically have no problem delegating, typically have no problem passing, the torch to someone else while standing back and letting them do their job. As most entrepreneurs, that's why a lot of entrepreneurs, you will see them start a business, grow a business, and then they move a professional CEO and president to run the company, because the entrepreneur is the visionary. They're not always the best, chief executive
operator. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Don't fire me one day, Jeff.
Yeah.
Don't one day.
You're already, man.
Let me stay as the lead honcho over at Owwll. Okay.
We'll have a talk.
Well, Danielle, thank you for joining us on the Owwll podcast today. We appreciate it, and we can't wait for you to be back in the studio in person.
Yay. All right. I'm going to go.
See you later. So we'll do one quick last one if someone calls in. If not, then we'll wrap today's show up. One thing I will definitely add is numbers don't lie, right? When you work with certain businesses, right, and you're able to literally show them the proof in the pudding, right, from your past ventures, but also your current clients. Like, you can literally say, hey, I worked with this brand who was selling water bottles, right, and they were not on the shelves at Publix, and they started with me, and now they are on the shelves at Publix, and they were selling 10,000 units a month, and now they're selling 40,000 units a month. So I think a lot of coaches, they end up BSing, the systems, right? They sell, their services, and they fake it until they make it, where a lot of the successful coaches, and John Maxwell could be a great example. Like, he's out there, you can't stop seeing this guy everywhere, right? Event after event, on big stage after big stage. And then he has a whole lineup of other coaches that learn from him, and then he partners with them, and they have an entire network. So here he is, Coach Paul Litwack. Welcome to the Owwll podcast. You're our last call in for the day. Coach, do you have something you want to ask Geoffrey Schmidt over here?
I do. This is an amazing show. Geoffrey, you rock. We're both NLPers. Jason will tell you I'm the real deal. Question I've got for you. How do we, and I say that as you and I, empower others to do the good things that we've done? I mean, for example, you've talked about all the great experience over the years. The question is, how do we transfer that to others? And I'm thinking metaphorically. Bette Midler had the best line. She says, there are 80-year-old people out there, but they've only got 1 year of experience 80 times.
I've never heard that one before, but yeah, I like it. I relate. I see what she's saying.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. So the question is how do we empower people?
Exactly. With our experience, how to help them.
The best way is just to be the example, to put it out there and just be real, be grounded, let people come to you. It's like, one thing I've learned is over the years is it's impossible. It's like, here, let me put it to you this way. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. It's going to drink when it's ready to drink. So for guys like you and I, with what we do, it's much more advantageous to work with the horses that want to drink, metaphorically speaking, than trying to convince a horse to drink.
You work with horses?
Only Mr. Ed. He talks. He speaks English.
There, from the horse's mouth, right there.
From
Jason.
the horse's mouth. I love it.
Cool.
But really that's what it comes down to is, trying to convince. It's just an uphill battle. Yeah, sure. If you studied NLP, there are ways and means to go down that road, but it's a lot unnecessary extra effort as opposed to really just embracing those that are looking for help, that are looking to make changes, that want to grow. That's the road I take. That's the path I travel. I don't try to convince anyone. I don't try to, persuade or anything like that. I let my background speak for what it is. What I can do speaks for itself. And for those that are interested in growing and reaching next levels, then they reach out. If not, so be it. Life goes on. Everybody has a journey, so you got to respect it. It's like what the Dalai Lama said. It takes all types to make a world. It takes understanding to live in it.
Paul, he's not like me. He's not a hard closer. I'm a hard closer. I just go for it. I'm like, God, try Owwll app. You got to download this. And I just keep pressuring people until they do it. Positive persuasion, you could call it. There's some books on that. But there's no two ways to do it at the end of the day. One way is your way, one way is my way. But as long as you're leading with good intentions at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Coach, Coach Paul, you still there? Coach Paul. I think we lost Coach Paul.
Where did
He's
Coach
having
Paul go?
audio issues potentially. Well, we're going to cut him off to end today's show, regardless, because we're coming up at the 30-minute mark over here. Well, what were your thoughts? I know you're new to the Owwll app, right? I think that was your 4th or 5th incoming call. How did you feel about that experience?
No, it's good. The Owwll app, like when you first introduced it to me, I think it's a needed app out there. And I think for anyone who's a professional and has knowledge, information, or something that can help somebody else benefit in some way,
Absolutely.
shape, or form, they should be on the app.
Yes,
Because the information that you have, there could be somebody out there who's looking for that.
of
And
course.
it could make the difference.
And law reciprocation, right? Where like you just talked to 3 different people. Now they know what you do. And at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe your next client is going to come from one of them. They weren't the right fit maybe for your services, but all of a sudden they're like, hey, you have to speak to this individual, right? And we see that all the time. So if you keep just leading with kindness, leading with value, eventually it comes full circle at the end of the day. Well, I want to thank you for coming out to the Owwll podcast today. Everybody listening, this is a new thing that we're doing. Every single Wednesday, right around 5 p.m., we are going live on the Owwll podcast. We are now streaming on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and we are going to have people call into the show. We are switching it up. We used to have outbound calls happening, but now we figured this out. We got this beautiful TV in the background, and we are really enjoying this experience. A lot of people have given us some positive feedback that they enjoy calling in and really being part of this podcast at the end of the day. So if you're out there listening, every expert in the future that joins us on the Owwll podcast is going to be $1. All you got to do is sign up at owwll.com, go to the App Store or Android Store, sign up, and give these folks a call. And looking forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday. Take care, everybody.